Good evening. Welcome to tonight's regular board meeting. We have met compliance with official notification. Roll call, please.
Nick Schumacher.
Here.
Brooke Taylor.
Here.
Diana Smith.
Here.
Nick Olson.
Here.
I'm here. President Steve Olson.
Here. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education held in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for comments by members of the public during the meeting as indicated on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to address the board on any of the topics included on tonight's agenda may do so by signing up on the public comments sign-up sheet prior to the start of the meeting. Board requests refraining from making any comments involving personally identifiable information about students, staff, or administration. Comments should be respectful, focused on the items being considered by the board, and will be restricted to 3 minutes in length. This time I'd like to move then to our agenda for this evening. First is comments by members of the public. Our first speaker this evening, Christina Derrick.
Good evening. My name is Christina Derrick and I'm a health assistant at the Superior Middle School. I have been with the district for 7 years and work directly with our students and staff for the overall health needs. I am here tonight to comment on the step increases for all staff. Whether you are a support staff, professional staff, or an administrator in our district, inflation is affecting all of us, including the district. While we all know the needs in our district are increasing with mental health and overall health, our roles in our building are very important to support student learning. We are valuable. Everyone in the professional category has to hold some kind of license or certification, and we should be treated no differently than other staff, in my opinion. The direct effect of only adding 2% to step 1 in our category will not reflect equal raises. No matter what anyone's role in our district, we all deserve 2% on each step. The district prides itself on all means all. With our insurance premiums and copays going up, it will affect all staff. Many of us already have second jobs as inflation has hit us all, no matter if you are a 1-parent or 2-parent household. Please reconsider adding 2% to each step of the professional categories. As if you only added 2% to the first step, we will only receive an increase on what step 1 makes, not on what we make an hour. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Kyle Smith.
Good evening. I think last time I tried to talk about too many things and so hopefully I only have 2 things I wanted to mention tonight. Actually 3. One is, I think more I could get 4. No. One is last Monday, and then I watched the Thursday discussion, and just wondering where dental insurance falls on this. It seems like the 2 are 1 and 1 together, and so it would just seem, I mean, I hope, and it sounded like, I'll say I hope that the retirees will stay on our policy with the medical, obviously the dental. My understanding is there's 160 retirees on the dental. So, and talking with some retirees, it's kind of a wash regarding if you get the dental insurance from us or somewhere else. But my understanding, it doesn't cost the district anything different because it's or more because it's a self-funded policy. So I just want, keep the retirees on the medical as well as the dental, if something changed. Just haven't heard any of the discussion. The second thing goes into the handbook language under post-employment benefits for teachers under contract prior to January 1st, and this is a discussion about the HRA. The very last line, and premiums, comma, not limited to participation in district's health insurance are all cut off, crossed out. And so the word and premiums is what I am confused about. For example, if, I don't know if you're saying if retirees are off our insurance, no premiums can, the HRA can't be used for a premium, which I wouldn't think that would apply. But I'm just wondering why that one and premiums was cut off, if it's just, or medical expenses is maybe makes it broader. So I guess asking for a clarification on it. And I guess the last thing I'd just say, that was my third thing. I'd like to thank Diana Smith for her time on the board. I think this might be your last night so serving, and we appreciate your service and being on the board. So thank you.
Thanks. This is also a reminder that action taken at tonight's meeting will be final approval unless otherwise noted. Disposition of minutes from March 18th, 2024.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the disposition of minutes from March 18th, 2024. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Informational items tonight from our superintendent.
Hey, good evening. One of the best perks of the job has been to go out to schools on a monthly basis and be able to celebrate our kids and our staff who've been nominated for Spartan Showcase Award. And so we had an assembly today at Bryant Elementary where we wanted to honor and recognize one student and one staff person. And so I just want to highlight those folks tonight. Which one are you going to pull up first? Student? Okay. So our student, this is the wrong. Oh, I know, I'm waiting. Okay, so the student that we recognized at Bryant today was fifth grader Michaela Miller. I just want to read a little bit about one of the nominees said about her. She's an excellent example of work, respect, belong. She's always working extremely hard and staying on task. She's kind and respectful to her peers and adults in our building. She's an absolute pleasure to work with. And we love having her a part of the Bryant community. And so her parents were able to join us today for an assembly. And so that was fun. So that's Michaela. And then our staff person that we recognized today was Rod Amos. And he overwhelmingly had many nominations. And it was fun to be able to recognize him. He was very surprised and a little bit embarrassed. And so just a couple comments from staff. Rod is the epitome of a team player. He is the first person to jump in and support his colleagues when they need a hand. He's flexible and he adapts to specific needs that Bryant may have. He's truly one of a kind. He's always willing to go the extra mile, and he works tirelessly to go to bat for all students without complaint. He works to get to know every single student in the building, and he takes on whatever role is needed. So he's very much appreciated at Bryant Elementary. So there's Rod. Right, and then Autumn is not with us tonight. She will be, I think her last meeting will be May, be graduating at the end of May. So she will be coming in May and she is not here tonight. And we have Jason and Christine here to give us some updates of Bryant and Cooper. So welcome, Jason.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Am
I live?
Yep.
I'm here just to give you kind of an update this spring on how things are going at Bryant. I know some of you have been in the school already a little bit this year, and I just wanted to touch on a couple of really awesome things that we're doing and then kind of go over where our CIP is and where we think we're going to progress to. But just to cover some celebrations, a lot of the celebrations, including our CIP, we made some really good growth fall to winter this year on the ELA and math scores on our FastBridge. And then just right now, I'm just speaking with my staff in the last couple of days, got some team members here today. Thanks. Herman. The climate and culture just feels really good, just the small feels. Dr. Starzecki was there today with David Coy, and it's just a cool atmosphere being in our building right now, and that feels really good to all of us. And then we have a lot of things going on in the building, from anywhere from classroom activities in all grade levels to our PBIS, our fun days that we do with Wellness Wednesdays, Think With Your Eyes Thursdays. We promote attendance by wearing our T-shirts on certain days. Just a lot of cool things. I brought some pictures here along with me. These are some of our Wellness Wednesday activities that we do once a month. Every Wednesday, we promote wellness, whether it be exercise or activity with your class. But then once a month, we have people come in. So Mrs. Hennessy and her son came in and they made pinch pots with our grade levels. We had a skating day, which we barely got in because the ice was melting as we were skating. Sounds Unlimited came. We did a dance party with our buddy classroom. So like a first grade classroom with a fifth grade classroom, they were out there dancing together. It was really awesome. Mrs. Tesh came and did some soccer. Mr. Sedestrom, our engineer, he's a caller, and he did square dancing and circle dancing with our kids. They had an absolute blast. This month we have the UMD women's basketball team coming to do basketball drills and stuff with each of our grade levels. So once a month, every Wednesday, it just really feels good. Kids are showing up. It's part of our attendance initiative, and it's just awesome. And all of our teachers participate, and it's really, really fun to be there. You want to play this or not? This is just, so a lot of people ask if we still have school songs. I thought it'd be fun just to put this in here, but every month we do an assembly, PBIS assembly, to award some really, we call them green ticket winners for our monthly focus. Like this month is Perseverance. And then those kids get pizza parties or some sort of a party for their classrooms for doing something really cool in the school. But we always end our assemblies with a school song. Just Mrs. Putsky wrote that song. I'm not sure what year, but she wrote that song. She's our music teacher, and we sing it every month, and even more if we can. So just fun. We just got some new signs for our cafeteria. We're rebranding a little bit, so it's Blizzard, and then we also have the Spartans in there. So it just kind of feels good. So sorry. Here we go. Some of the challenges are at the beginning of the year, I had mentioned that mental health continues to be a struggle. Trying to get kids services that they maybe couldn't get in the school, but should be getting professionally outside the district. That still is a challenge, as we all know. But one of our focuses is trying to mitigate those things that we are in control of as much as possible. And we're really, obviously continuing to work on the mental health stuff, but chronic absences have been one of our biggest focal points. Right now, chronic absences are defined as kids that have 18 or more absences in a school year. We define in Wisconsin truancy. If a kid is truant, they're gone more than 10 times, but really 10 times is what is allowed per student per school year. So those kids, what we're really trying to do is look at those kids who are missing a lot of school. Right now, we have 51 students at Bryant that are in this category. 51 kids have missed 18 days or more. That's a lot. That's 17% of our staff, our population. Last year, at the end of the school year, 22-23, we had 57 students that were in that category by the end of the year. If we took our top 51 this year and compared it to the 51 last year, the number of days missed are different. It's a small celebration for us. Last year, we had 1,400 some days missed of those kids that were chronically truant or absent. And this year we have less than 1,000. So we're making small differences in getting kids to school. One day means a lot, right? So it's a small celebration. We work tirelessly at these things. And I think it's something that even though 51 students is a lot of students, we're working hard at it. This is a progress report I sent out to our families here not too long ago. On the left-hand side, it's about our attendance goal, which is we want to have 70% of our our student population with less than 10 absences at the end of the year. Right now, we're at 75, so we're meeting that goal, but we're close to missing it. But right now we're doing okay. So we're continuously doing things to try and get our kids in the building, enjoying the day. Our academic goal in the upper right, I know it's really hard to read, but it's basically around our ELA scores in the Fastbridge assessment. We want 80% of our students to be at or above proficiency or benchmark by the end of the year. In the fall, the reading score is the top right box. In the fall, we were at 59%. In the winter, we are at 62, making some gains. Our math, I put that in there just because it's obviously a huge component. In the fall, we were at 69%, and in the winter, we were at 76. So we're making strides, and that's really powerful for all of us to see. Our action steps, we're continuing to follow through with our CIP plan that we've been working with our SLT and our entire staff. We have plans for the 30, 60, 90, 120 days. New this spring, that's in addition to some of the things that we've already put in place. Teachers are going to be going around doing classroom visits, really just during their small group reading time to notice something that maybe is not going on in their classroom or something that they think they want to try in their own room, and work collaboratively with, teachers within the building. They don't get to do that very often. So we're going to try to make it work so that we can pull them from their class without having to impede their ability to teach their students. So we have some ideas, and it's going to be good. Goal 2, obviously, we're going to continue with our attendance reports. I would work with Eva on a weekly basis. I'm having meetings every week with families and talking about barriers that they're meeting, that they're seeing are getting in the way of getting their kids to school. And we just try to work with the families to make sure that they understand how we can best support them in the building. We do positive postcards, and I think our teachers do a great job of just really keeping in contact with parents and families just through Seesaw. And if they're gone for more than a day, then we're always reaching out saying, hey, how, what's going on? How can we help? And we celebrate when they come back. Hugs. We have greeters in the morning. It's awesome. So it's a great place to work right now. I think we're all kind of enjoying the school year as of right now. So any questions?
Jason.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you want? Fine. All right, Christine.
Well, I've got to follow that. I'm Christine Sterry, the principal at Cooper, and I just wanted to start by talking about a few of the celebrations that we've got going on. We have a lot of amazing things happening throughout Cooper. I'm going to touch on the first one a little bit more later on, but going through our Fastbridge data for specifically with reading, we have our goal that we want 70% of our students to be scoring at the low risk or proficient on the early reading. So that'd be for kindergarten and first grade, and A reading for 2nd through 5th. And many of our grades have already hit this goal for the winter benchmark. So as we move on, the benchmark moves up, moving into the spring. But with the rate that we're going, I think that we're going to do an awesome job at achieving that goal. So I was really excited to look through that data that we got just from fall to winter and see the amazing gains that those kids are making. Another one of our huge celebrations is some peer observations that have been happening within Cooper and going to other elementary schools. I have the privilege of going into all these amazing classrooms and seeing all the awesome things that teachers are doing. And one thing that I focused on a lot and I kept bringing up and the shared leadership team kept bringing up was there's so many amazing things and we want to get teachers learning from teachers. So one way that we were pushing this was I told teachers, one thing that I absolutely love, and I say this to my teachers all the time, anytime I take a sub, that's my favorite part of the day. So I will go into the classrooms and kind of take over a classroom so that the teacher can go in and observe another teacher. We even had a 5th grade teacher who reached out and said they work really closely with their teammate already, and they asked if they could actually go over to another school and observe other teachers from other buildings. The other principals were amazing with this and very welcoming and helped collaborate on different things that they would see. So it's really interesting seeing that branch out outside of Cooper's four walls and seeing the amazing things that are happening throughout the district. So that's been an awesome thing. And then another huge celebration is just how strong our team is. As we all know, it's not been the easiest year. We've got challenges that are coming our way, and the staff at Cooper has just been overwhelmingly supportive. They support each other. They collaborate. They are there for the kids day in and day out and doing what's best for kids every day. And not only that, but they support me, and I feel very, very privileged to be in that building. And then we have amazing teachers coming our way. So we are very fortunate. I've started to reach out to some of the other teachers that are going to be coming to Cooper and starting to build those relationships. So I'm excited to see what the future is going to bring as well. A few more of our celebrations. I don't have audio like Jason did, but the Loon Opera was there and our Cooper chorus got to join in on that. So our fifth graders, it was really fun to see their excitement when they got to get out and dance and act and all that good stuff. And then we had our Glow Run fundraiser. So a huge shout out to our PTA and our counselor, Lori Thompson, who went above and beyond to make this such a huge success. The kids had an absolute blast, and it was an awesome opportunity. So, like I mentioned before, this year has not quite been the easiest year, but our challenges really have focused on planning for next year. The nice thing now is that we're definitely in the planning stages. So working with the shared leadership team and collaborating on what next year is going to look like and how we're already planning some events, whatever we can do to welcome that new staff that's coming in and just make sure that everybody's feeling supported and moving forward. So like I had mentioned before, our goals this year on our CAP was that by the end of the 23-24 school year, 70% of our students will be scoring at the low risk or proficient on the early reading for kindergarten and first, and A readings for 2 through 5. This is the goal that I'm really excited about, seeing that data come in and seeing the huge gains that those kids have made. I give a giant shout out to this, and I'll mention it again, but Emily Sherrill, our EMLSS, is doing a phenomenal job catching those kids and doing interventions with them. I joke around with her that I never see her because she is all over the building at all times, just trying to meet with as many kids as possible. So she has a tight schedule and she's doing phenomenal with it. And then by the end of the 23-24 school year, each PLC will be functioning at a proficient level as indicated on the PLC rubric that was created by the shared leadership team. The reason why we kind of focused on our PLC this year was really, we kind of did a reset with having a new principal come in. This year we really had new grade levels with changes in teachers moving to different grade levels. And we knew moving forward that we were going to have addition of teachers in different teams again. We wanted to make sure that our PLCs were really strong and that we had a foundation in what we wanted to see our outcomes. So we really dove in, talked about what should be happening in each PLC, talked about those data digs and really making sure that the data is what's driving the decisions that's happening in each grade level. So some of our action steps, like I mentioned before, peer observations, seeing the amazing things that each teacher is doing throughout the building. Also, we've revisited reading groups countless times. This is with teachers doing small groups in their classrooms, plus the interventions that Emily Sherrill was doing. They're constantly changing and adjusting and making sure that we are meeting the needs of each child that walks through our door. We have modified interventions that we sit down with also our school psych and go through different ways that we can modify what we're doing. The SPED team is there, and like I mentioned, our EMLSS. That team as a whole this year has really grown, and we're making sure that absolutely no child is falling through the cracks. We're making sure that we are doing very strategic interventions that's going to meet those needs. And then our second goal, we have been reviewing PLC documents this year. Our grade levels are coming up pretty soon. They're going to be meeting with the grade level above and below just to make sure that our class, they're going to be working on class rosters. We also, each team kind of does their PLC document a little bit different. And so we have a shared drive where we are going over those documents, talking about what works for one team, what works for another team, and then having that collaboration so that modifications, adjustments can be made as needed. This will also be the groundwork moving into next year, welcoming those new teachers in, showing them what we're doing, but also being welcoming to what they've done in the past and what has possibly worked for them, and just having it a nice, smooth, hopefully transition for each grade level. That's all I have. Any questions?
I'd just like to say the idea of the peer observations, I think is a great idea. Allowing staff to not only visit our teachers in their own school, but other schools in general. So
Yeah, and so I mean, that was not my idea. Of course, the teachers take it and run with it. But I'm at a very privileged spot where I get to walk around and see all the amazing things that are happening throughout the classrooms. And really, I had a teacher who came up to me and mentioned, okay, I'm not seeing the growth that my teammates are seeing. Can I get in there? Can I have an hour in their classroom so I can see what they're doing during their small group instruction? I was like, absolutely. So it was a very organic thing that happened, but they definitely took it and ran with it. So that was really cool.
and my only question is, can we hear your school song?
No.
I don't have one. But we have cubbies. So I did say next year, if I'm with Jason, who's going to bring audio, I am going to have cubbies stand next to me so they can just wave and stuff and maybe jazz it up for me. So thank you.
My final items and action items. Do you want to take that?
Sure. The action item, consideration of overnight field trip request from the SHS Indian Ed program to attend the American Indian Youth with Stethoscopes Youth Summit.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the overnight field trip request from the Indian Ed program at Superior High School. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next on the agenda are the board committee reports. The committee of the whole met on Monday, April 1st, 2024. Board members in attendance were Diana Smith, Nick Olson, Brooke Taylor, Ed Gallagher, Nick Schumacher, and President Olson. Action taken at the committee of the whole meeting is to forward recommendations for final consideration at tonight's school board's meeting, unless otherwise noted on the committee of the whole agenda. We also had a special session on Thursday, April 4th, 2024, to talk about district retiree insurance. First report is from the operations committee. There were no action items, no discussion items, informational items. We got a very thorough report from Aaron Schilling, our director of technology, providing a total update of what's happening in that department.
Motion to accept operations committee report.
Second.
Motion and second to accept the operations committee report. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next was the teaching and learning committee. Action items, none. Discussion items, none. Informational items at the committee of the whole meeting. Jen Willoughby, Director of Early Childhood and Family Education, provided updates on the plan for 2024 purchase from the Carol Farmakis Fund and plan for this year's purchase. The kindergarten transition night was also reviewed.
Motion to accept the teaching and learning committee report.
Second.
Motion to second to accept the teaching and learning committee report. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Policies and Rules Committee action items. Administration proposes the approval of changes to the following policies based on Neola recommendations in order to be in compliance with state and/or federal law updates. First reading of policy 5340, student accidents, illness, concussion, and sudden cardiac arrest.
Motion approved.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Accept the policy 5340, student accidents, illness, concussion, and sudden cardiac arrest policy. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We also had the first reading of policy 5460, graduation requirements.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion in a second to approve the policy 5460 graduation requirements. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. There were no discussion items and there are no informational items. One informational item, excuse me, thank you. We deleted then the administrative guideline 5460 graduation requirements because it was just a repetition of that policy we just approved. Motion to accept.
Second.
Motion in a second to accept the Policy and Rules Committee report. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the Budget Insurance Committee. Informational items. We had a report on our Fund 10 revenue and expenditure update up to this point. We also had a presentation, health insurance presentation from Marsh McLennan Agency. Action items. The first action item, gifts, grants, and bequests. Administration recommends approval to accept gifts, grants, and bequests received in the past month.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion in a second to approve the gifts, grants, and bequests. Any further discussion? Thank you very much. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next action item, effective July 1, 2024, administration recommends the following for an approximate savings of $8,999, excuse me, $899, I can't, 1,597, I'm sorry, for the 2024-25 school year. Again, let me repeat that, the savings of $899,597 for 24-25.
Okay, can I make a motion to separate all three of those into individual topics?
Second.
There's a motion in a second to individualize each one of the bulleted items for further discussion. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. To discuss singly, the first item, changing health insurance provider to Medica.
Can I ask two? Can we have Dave explain the $899 versus $663 since that came up in questions?
Yep.
Before we go on.
Can you guys all hear?
Sorry.
To speak in.
I'm just asking Dave to explain the difference of 663 to 899 on the agenda so people understand where that came from.
Yep. So on the original agenda, it said 663. The reason that is Medica came in with a last minute quote update or revised quote. What happened is GHT provided a quote the Wednesday before the agenda came out. The agenda went out on a Friday morning and then Medica came in with a revised quote, which totaled our savings up to the $899,597. All the slides and presentations that we went over last week that's with the new number. I did say during the last COW meeting as well that this number would be changing. This isn't something that we were hiding. This isn't any kind of last minute, oh, we just found some more money under a stone or something like that. This was always planned. All the information that's been presented thus far last week on Thursday, it all incorporates this $899,597 and is just an example of how fluid this whole insurance policy process has been. And as well as whole heart as a district, we are pushing to get every single penny we can get out of them. So
I will say too, that it's pretty common for this to happen, the back and forth with providers. Just the experience in my business, it's one provider gets a quote and they're given the chance to re-quote it based on the new number. So this is something that's pretty common.
A bit of a timeline on that. The agenda was posted at 8:54 a.m. on Friday. GHT had come in with a proposal. And then on Wednesday prior, And then about on 3 o'clock on the afternoon of Friday, the 29th is when Medica presented their final.
And
We was hoping with their
And we did discuss that change.
Monday we did.
And all the other ones, GHT as well, they're aware of what the Medica new, new quote is. So they would have had the opportunity as well. I mean, this is very fluid. If even right now, if Medica came back with some kind of rate cap addition or something like that, that's something we would still accept because we need to find every penny we can find. So.
I think we need to clarify. We have a motion then on the floor to change health insurance provider to Medica.
We don't have a motion yet.
And a motion?
Not yet. Oh.
Okay, so to take that then singly, we do need a motion. Correct. And a reminder, Nick Schumacher and myself are not able to vote on this particular issue.
I'll make a motion to change the health insurance provider to Medica.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to change health insurance provider to Medica. Discussion.
I just want to reiterate, because everybody knows my wife's a teacher. My wife and I do not take health insurance through the district, so I do not benefit from this at all, which is why I can still vote on it. So I just want to make that clear again tonight.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of changing health insurance provider to Medica signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Aye. Aye. Second bulleted item, remove retirees from the option of staying on the district's health and dental insurance. They will have the option of COBRA for 18 months.
Make a motion to amend that one to say to keep retirees on the district health and dental insurance.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to amend removing retirees from the option to keeping retirees on the district's health and dental insurance. Discussion.
I think I would like to say that, this has been a sudden change, and I don't think this is not going to come off the table as far as something that needs to be looked at, and phasing it out or whatever we end up doing, I think is going to happen in the future. But I think all of us feel like this happened suddenly and there was no time to digest any kind of plan moving forward. So, that's my feelings anyways.
I do think there needs to be future conversation about this and perhaps getting some verbiage in there. I did appreciate kind of the Chippewa Falls approach of 15 years of service, but just looking into those kind of options, because I do think that people need time to plan accordingly. And so just getting that in the handbook, and of course it can change even from then on, but I think it's important that we start the conversation about that. One of the reasons why I seconded that is I'm not convinced the number savings is completely accurate. I'm not convinced we would save enough to justify taking away the retirees insurance at this point. This is me, and correct me if I am completely wrong. But if we said that to make it easy, we were saving $300,000 as a district, and let's say there were 30 retirees on that, that would bring each person costing the district about $10,000. Again, if we look on the low end of the first step and the top tier of a teacher, again, low end, it's more, $20,000 is what it would cost us to keep higher up teachers in longer. And we know that many of these teachers have their masters and other things that also increases their salaries. So again, 20,000 difference is very low. We also are paying 88% of their insurance premiums. So if we get them off of there at 55 versus keeping them on until 60, 65, they are responsible for 100% premiums. So again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just don't know that the savings is going to be as much as we're looking at. And that's why I don't know that it's justifiable right now to kick retirees off.
Yeah, my position is simply having retirees on insurance right now doesn't add to our deficit, doesn't take away from it, doesn't do anything next year. It makes sense to me to slow things down. We will have real discussions amongst the board, amongst staff, retirees, community, whichever. And I think we have time to relook at it in the future. It just doesn't have to be now, and it doesn't have to be rushed. So I guess that's where I stand. So.
First of all, I want to acknowledge the fact that Amy and David and Molly have not hidden a thing from us. They provided us with up to the minute information. It has been as accurate to the numbers that we've been able to ascertain, or at least that I've been able to ascertain. It's a difficult decision. One that I could never believe that I'd have to sit here and make. What I worry about is what's next. Another reduction of X amount of teachers, perhaps, only perhaps. Increased class sizes. Possibility of eliminating extra and co-curricular activities. Eliminating counselors, social workers. Eliminating EMLSS teachers. The possibility of eliminating the deans at the middle school and the high school. The financial risk the school district may undertake. And God forbid the closing of another school. I appreciate the comments of all of you. I would be in concert of looking further into this. However, I'm a bit concerned that we may be kicking the can down the road. Is there any further discussion?
I do want to comment quick, even though I cannot vote on this. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. I think in some regards, Steve, you're right. We are sort of kicking the can down the road, but I think in this instance, it needs to get kicked to be able to come up with a better timeline and a better solution, and to plan this out a little bit more, you know. And Steve mentioning all those potential cuts that could happen. It's like, that's obviously not to scare anybody, but you know, we've heard for sure the last week or so about transparency and knowing about things ahead of time. It's like, these are all things we've been looking at for a long time. I mean, these guys have been doing research on, you know, all these things for months and months and months and months. And it's hard to throw those things out there to teachers and staff with not knowing if this is a possibility to, you know, to have this stuff happen and raise emotions and have all these feelings come up and in a lot of ways, they're not even warranted because it may not happen. So I know for these guys, you know, having to come up with these ideas and these proposals and recommendations for us, I don't believe that they're doing it to hide anything. They're doing their due diligence. They're getting us the information we need. You know, would we like some of that information earlier? Yeah, maybe in some cases. And you know what, we'll do our best to work on that as we move forward. But I think in this case, like I said, going back to the beginning, I think this is needed to wait on this.
I would agree with that, Nick. I think the hard part about this is the timeliness. Hearing from a lot of people, but also being appreciative of the options to help our budget, because that is where we are struggling. But we have teachers who have retired in the last couple of years who are, you know, 56, 57, and they've counted on this. And I think that's where I struggle. We're looking at more of a long-term plan. So giving, you know, people who are close to retirement, maybe an option or, you know, again, a long-term plan. So people do have the time to financially plan their retirement instead of giving them only 18 months, maybe after they've already retired, and they won't be 65 by the time those 18 months has passed.
Is there any further discussion? Amended motion providing retirees the option of staying on the district's health and dental insurance. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Aye.
Aye. Before we have a motion to accept, I do want to acknowledge again very large number of emails and your messages to us. I always like to keep a lot of lists when I was working and stuff, and not only do we have another recommendation list from our administration of possible cuts in the future and stuff, many of you in your expressions to us in your emails came up with a number of ideas that perhaps we should be considering. I kept a spreadsheet of that and shared that with Amy and with our other board members. And as we move through this and stuff, there's going to be things. I don't know who made this comment for sure. One of the Olsons, I know for sure, but I think it was me. But I don't feel we've left any stone unturned. I've been in this district long enough. When people are saying, are you really looking at the entire budget? Are you really looking at all the expenditures and the revenues and stuff? And there was one email that came up and stuff, and I will answer that person. It's another part of the email and stuff she had about payments being made and stuff. So I will get back to that person. But the fact that there's a part of it missing, and that's the community's involvement yet. Yes, we heard from a number of you that were very concerned about the retiree insurance and stuff. And when I really looked at it, it's not just the 33. It's the next group that went this year, the next group that's going to go. And that's where I really think that the responsibility of this board and working with the recommendation of our administration that we come up with some type of a plan. So thank you very much for your emails. Is there a motion to accept?
Oh, I got one more.
Oh, I missed one. What did I do without you guys?
Kind of important.
Oh, this one I do have a real good opinion.
Maybe we can
We
skip.
could skip. Let's-
The third and final bulleted item, create option of a narrow network, Medica ACO with Essentia for current employees. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to create the option of a narrow network Medica ACO Essentia for current employees. Discussion.
This is something that's not easy. Lots of emails from families that go to St. Luke's, and it's hard to read all their stories. So I make the motion with a heavy heart doing that, because looking at the alternative and trying to find $900,000 elsewhere is almost impossible. That's 15 to 20 teachers we'd have to cut. That's innumerable amount of programs or athletics or fill in the blank. And I just don't see where we can make that similar decision with that effect.
I do agree, and I want to thank everybody for being so vulnerable in their emails and sharing their personal stories. And I think that's what makes this even more difficult. Realizing that you're affecting the lives and families' lives makes this really a horrible decision. But we still have millions of dollars to cut. And we aren't, insurance is there. We aren't taking away insurance. But it still doesn't make it any easier.
I'll be brief. This sucks. There's no other way to put it. Be frank there. Been part of numerous major decisions on this board. Each one has been worse than the next. It feels like my struggle with this, and I've answered every email, finally got to it. Probably, I think 4 o'clock today was the last time I sent an email. My struggle is, what do we look at if we don't do this? What's the other options? And the reality is, option 1, massive premiums. Option 2, restrictions on where you can go to get health care. And option 3 is non-existent. There's just no other good option here. And we're basically bound by the providers to give us these options. And with the deficit we're facing, the deficit we're trying to climb out of, this is $1 million here. And I don't know, like I said, I don't think there's another option here. And I hate it. I hate that we all have to read the emails from people that go to St. Luke's. I know it's not a majority, but everybody counts. And of all these issues tonight, this is probably the one I struggle the most. And I don't want to make this decision. I wish Steve would have just skipped over it.
Almost did.
I know. But I guess I just don't see any other way. I don't. So I apologize.
Again, can't vote, but I don't want to stay silent either, you know. I guess these guys take take the brunt of it. I would, gosh, I'd question if there was problems like this since you got on the board. Maybe it's you, but I don't know. Again, my family, my kids have gone to the same pediatrician with St. Luke's since they're born, and I feel like maybe one of the best ped doctors out there. My wife, she's been there since we've been married. You know, she's a specialist there as well. And hard to do, but again, looking at options to this is really the only option I see from my perspective as well. You know, and I can echo what Brooke and Nick and Ed said. It's hard to read the emails. But I do think this is the solution that we need to move forward with.
Just rip the Band-Aid out.
Rip the Band-Aid, I can agree. I do agree somewhat with you, but I will tell you this. You asked me, what's your opinion? I will, if I were to vote, I'd be the only no vote, in my opinion. Is there any further discussion?
Can you tell us why?
Because I do have a personal issue with insurance companies telling me where, when, how, and what they will or will not pay for.
This can be a rhetorical question, but then where is $1 million going to come from?
That's the conflicting part of it. It's very true, Brooke. The savings, we can't recoup it anyplace else. It is the best move for the district at this point in time. You know me well enough. Sometimes I go with my heart instead of my mind. And we have always talked that one voice doesn't control. I agree with you. When I walk out of this meeting tonight, we're all for one. We're all in it together, and we move forward.
I just want to say, just like everybody else, this has weighed very, very heavy on our hearts, and it is very difficult, to go with your head or go with your heart. I think we need to also all be reminded that this affects all staff. It affects admin who use St. Luke's. We've heard from so many staff and teachers, and we appreciate that, and that really does matter. I hope you guys feel that. I hope you know that we read every email and we take everything into consideration. We try to answer every question that's brought up. We bring all your ideas forward and try to address them. But again, trying to keep our schools staffed where they need to be, we're already struggling with that. And to see this big of a savings that is for our students. And it's hard to get past that as we decide on this.
Just gonna say, if it was based off my heart, my feelings, I'm right there with you, Steve. I'd say no.
100%. Yep.
I disagree 100%. I told the guy from Medica that I felt like this was borderline criminal.
Mm-hmm.
That's my feeling.
Yep.
But my feeling isn't gonna make up $1 million, 1.2 or 1.4, whichever it is at this point. It's not. And with the options presented to us, even just to stay the same is going to cost us whatever is $600,000+. So my decision isn't what I want to do. My decision is what I think we have to do for the district, which again, I said, sucks. I hate it. So for the record, I'd be a no, but for the district that we have to represent, all of us, we got to climb out of the hole here, and Medica and all these other insurance companies did not give us any viable options. None. So.
And I agree. I often want my heart to lead with decision making, and this decision has consumed me since finding out about it, and I have lost sleep about it. And I look at faces that it's going to affect, and it is awful. Awful. I truly hope everyone believes that, because it's horrendous to make this kind of decision. But again, where else does the money come from? I'm at a loss.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of creating an option of narrow network Medica, ACO, DAS Essentia, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Yes, aye. Motion carries.
Motion to accept budget insurance committee.
Second.
Motion and second to accept the Budget Insurance Committee report. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Personnel Negotiations Committee. Action items. Administration recommends approval of the April 2024 new hires and separations report.
Motion to accept.
Okay.
Motion and a second to accept the administration recommendation. Approval of the April 2024 new hires and separations report. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Administration recommends releasing Shauna Anderson, Transition Coordinator from SHS, from her 23-24 school year contract per her request, effective March 28, 2024, with the liquidated damages provision enforced.
Motion approved.
Second. Motion in a second to accept the administration's recommendation of releasing Shauna Anderson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Administration recommends approval of the changes to the employee handbook for the 2024-2025 school year per the attached summary.
I'd make a motion, but it'd have to reflect retiree
Changes.
information, obviously insurance stuff and all that. So motion approved with changes, the retiree language and health language.
Our motion in a second
So
to approve the employee handbook 2024-25 with changes to the retirees' health insurance.
So that would remove the strikeout then for, no? Can we go to the,
Can we?
Yeah, finish your sentence.
oh, okay, okay. Removing the strikeout for what they can use their premiums. Can we go to that point?
We
Second.
have a motion and a second.
Yes, we do.
Can we,
Do you want
why don't we just go in order of the
Okay, we
handbook?
can do that because I do want to talk about the verbiage for 30 minutes before and 10 after for elementary as well.
Yeah, since there's a bunch of stuff to talk about, can we just go in order?
Top.
Yeah, well, the AI stuff, I think we can pass, but unless people want to talk about AIs.
I will say regarding AI, I had some questions come to me since Monday. AI is an ever evolving concept and topic, and it's evolving differently week by week. And so there were some concerns about a couple aspects of this. It was brought to Future Ready with some review. They reviewed it. My advice was let's put this language in here. Let's use this language and let's go back to the Future Ready team like late fall, early winter and really talk about what's changed and what needs to change with this language. And that seemed agreed upon. So that was the conversation that happened this week between meetings.
You say what the concerns are?
The general concern was teachers needing to report when they use AI. And so, for example, if you're using AI to help with feedback on grading, letting students know that you might be using AI as grading or generating content is the main conversation. Looking at Crystal. Anything you want? Is that, or Aaron? Okay.
Can we scroll down then, or well, are we on AI right now?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, then we can probably move on to did anybody want to talk about the staff development days or anything, or can we?
I think it's all tied to the school day changes.
301.
Can we go to the red section? There we go. So is there harm in keeping the 30-minute before and 10-minute after for elementary teachers? That was brought up quite a few times as a request to keep it there.
This is proposing we keep it there. The reason it's red is because that's a change from last week.
Okay.
And we have to change it from 10 minutes to 9 minutes because of how the timing falls. So we're suggesting it stays the same because we need that supervision support before students arrive at school.
And so at least.
So that red just means it changed from last week, not that we're saying it should be deleted. Does that make sense?
And then
Yeah.
scrolling down to
Yeah, the insurance.
1288.
Yep.
Scroll up a little bit. Oh, sorry. I meant,
Going.
You're right.
Keep going.
You're-
Till you get to the next yellow.
yeah, no, up,
Oh,
back up.
oh.
Sure, that's good enough.
Is this the part that was a question?
The question on
This is
the
the part.
premium section.
Well, this all would go away then because the retirees would be staying on. So this would stay in there.
Okay.
Are you sure? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's post-employment. Okay.
All the stuff that's stricken stays.
Correct.
So non-issue.
Same with the support staff in the administration section.
13.
You keep scrolling up, Ann.
That,
Yep. Right there. Can you go back, Ann, to the strikeout there? Nope. It's right there,
Right there.
Good job, Ann.
that should all stay.
Yep.
All right. And then the next one should all stay too.
Yes. So that would stay? Yep.
Yes.
Yep, Ann. Oh,
We answered Kyle's.
It was on the premium.
what is the strikeout?
And I know there's conversation on staff development days and all that. I'm gonna leave that to you guys. I'm not gonna mess with that. Somebody else can though.
I'm good.
So with all those changes, I would make a motion to approve that. Well, I do have a motion, but
And we have
that'd be
a
my
second.
motion is all the changes.
There's a motion and a second to recommend the approval of the changes in the employee handbook for the 24-25 school year. Special notes on the health insurance language and the provision of 30 minutes before and 9 minutes after. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Administration recommends the salary increase for teachers for the 2024-2025 school year as listed below. Added 2% to the base step, which is an additional $886 to each step on the salary schedule for a total of $3,708.
307.
$307,708. Mr. Schumacher and Mr. Gallagher, you may not vote on this.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the 2% of the base step for the teacher salary schedule for 24-25. Is there any further discussion?
Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but because of Act 10, we cannot give raises to the teachers based on the step that they are on. It has to be on base. That is not in our control.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Opposed, motion carries.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Aye.
4-2 vote. Administration recommends a salary increase for support staff for the 24-25 school year as listed below. Added 2% to each step on the salary schedule for a total increase of $168,002. Mike, gracious.
Yeah.
You'll get it eventually.
I'll get it one of these years. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion in a second. Any further discussion?
I'm just going to say this now because it covers all three. Just echoing what I said last week is, as a board, I think we need to stay equal when it comes to the pay raise across all groups, all employees of our district. That's 2% on the base. Just so I don't repeat myself in the future, I'm saying that's for professional and admin, but since we're on support, I think we need to be equal on all categories across districts. You guys already know my feelings on it, so I'm just saying that now. Because once we stray from one, then might as well stray from all. And I will add, just for sake of clarity here, is I'm not necessarily against pay increases on steps for any group. But I think as a board, when we're discussing the pay raise in general, is that we fashion it in a different way. Since we have to treat teachers differently, according to state law, that we fashion wages in a different way that essentially equates to the same raise for all the groups in a different fashion. I'm not necessarily against step increase, but at this point in time for this year and this increase based off decisions, I think we need to stay equal.
The only thing is how we have to, for teachers, we can discuss that in closed session. For every other group, we have to do it in open session. So when are you going to have that discussion and how are we going to manipulate numbers here?
I think and I don't want to speak for you, Ed, but I think the request last week was as we start thinking about the amount we can afford for pay raises next year, consider how these percentages will look across the different groups in the overall number for our pay increases. Am I phrasing that properly or no?
Yes, I think it's pretty simple to look ahead and say that we want to treat each group differently. We can, in our heads, we know this. And like I said last week, in my mind fashion, not having accurate numbers, Dave can work that out some other time. But I would fashion something in a 3% teacher, 1% other groups, but on step levels. So it equals out to be the same in the end. But it gives everybody what they want, essentially. I'm not saying, we're discussing all that in closed session. We can put this on the agenda prior to even that time. So we do have this discussion. And I'm open to that. But like I said, we've well exceeded that time. This was a change just before our previous meeting. And there has been no discussion on it for the most part. So again, I'm open to it in the future, and I think we can all in our back of our minds think about this and remember it when the time comes. I just don't think right now is that time.
I agree. And just looking forward, having these discussions in January, in February, when we do with the teachers, kind of clumping them all at the same time so we can look at it as a whole versus teachers in February, everybody else in April. And that way we have a better sense of where the pools of money are and making those decisions all at once.
So I obviously shared my perspective last week, and my intention was never to pit one group against another group. And I apologize if that's what this ended up becoming. My perspective was, again, support staff. We're in competition with a lot of them for, again, the Quick Trips and McDonald's, and we need to retain them just like we need to retain everyone. And so again, I'm not trying to take away from one group or another. So I don't know, I guess I'm wavering right now because I don't want one group to feel less valuable than another. They have requested we look at them differently than the teachers because we can. So I'm trying to honor those requests if we can, if it's feasible, which it is. But again, to try to pit one group versus another, that's not what this is. So I'm wavering. I really did feel strongly last week, and I still feel strongly that support staff, their increase is so much less, 20 some cents. Again, some were 23 cents. My kid asked for a gumball the other day. That doesn't even get you a gumball. So it's really hard because, again, I'm not trying to devalue it or put one group above another. Please understand that. But I think that in order to stay competitive for them in particular, looking at their scale, I think it is different.
Brooke, I hear what you're saying and I agree with that. But the one thing, and I do not think anyone here is trying to put anyone or divide any group from the other. But the principle of it is how do you say this group gets it at each step, but this group doesn't? What are we looking at and what are we using to decide that? And how do we justify that? Because their jobs are everyone's job matters and they are just as important.
I will say, I think for me right now, in this moment, we had a lot of teachers reach out with support for that raise on the step for the support staff. And so I think in that regards, if the teachers are supportive of them seeing the increase on their step, that again, that's something that we can honor, and it's probably important to do so. So I think talking it out a little bit, I'm going to say that I'm still in favor of the raise for support staff on the step that they are at.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
No. One no. Motion carries. Administration recommends the salary increase for professional staff for the 2024-2025 school year based on the discussion on April 1, 2024. There is an amended motion, the action item, to 2% on the base of the salary schedule. Motion carried by unanimous voice at that time.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second to amend the action item to read 2% on the base of the salary schedule. Is there any further discussion?
And this is then, I know it reads a little differently, but this is the same for the teachers then. It would be the same for the professional staff and the same for admins. And this is how they've done it for many years. So this would not be changing things.
This is language you've used in the past and it matches the handbook language. So when you go to the first step, it's a starting step.
So how it's written on that is inaccurate. The red
part.
That is accurate.
no,
No, it says step by step.
says 2%, starting step of each step.
Yep, it's saying adding 2% of the starting step. So if you look at the salary schedules, instead of it's saying step 1, it says starting step.
In the handbook.
And the information you provided us, Molly. Yep, it does.
So this, clarify, this makes it the same as
Yes. This is the way we've done it in past years. So we use
The raise on the base.
correct.
right. It's just not called base for those.
Base wage.
Yep.
Okay, starting step.
Starting step.
And I think there can be more discussion, like Ed said, next year. I'm not opposed to considering different percents. Again, I just felt very strongly about the one group right now and the others I need more time to think and consider on. And so keeping it the same that it's been, feel a little bit better about.
I do want to acknowledge, well, 2 years ago, and a couple of board members were not part, 3 of you were not part of it, that when we met in our meet and confer meetings and stuff, that this has been on the radar, and this has been a request from this group in particular, and not really supposed to go to the next one, but that group as well. So we do have some history that calling to our attention. And I do agree, we need to sit down. We've talked a little bit more about how we can get together a little bit more and to have conversations earlier on how to approach these.
Was this salary scale altered at all, like in the more recently? Was it changed or voted on? No.
It's a newer salary schedule, though, isn't it?
This one that's attached
Professional?
here.
For the professional staff?
Yeah,
Okay.
we created it like 4 years ago. 3 years ago.
We separated them out of the support staff due to
Oh, okay.
differences in their employee groups.
Sure.
So we have vote.
Yes. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of 2% at the starting step of the salary schedule for the professional staff signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Administration recommends the salary increase for administrators for the 2024-25 school year as listed below. At 2% of the starting step of the salary schedule for a total increase of $55,721.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion and a second to accept the 2% starting step salary schedule increase for a total of $55,721. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. There were no discussion items. There were no informational items.
Motion to accept personal negotiation report.
Second.
Motion and a second to accept the Personnel and Negotiations Committee report. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Other reports by members of the board. First of all, Diane, thank you so very much for your service the past few months. You stepped out, made yourself vulnerable, have provided great insight, great advice. You communicated very well with administration, with each board member. And looking back when you were a student in high school, I would probably have not expected anything less than that. You were a stellar student then, and you're a stellar person today. I thank you very much for wanting to be part of this.
I just want to say, just reflecting on my time being here, it's been a little less than a year. Thank you to everyone sitting up here. Thank you to all the staff in our district. We really do have a great district. The time, the sacrifice that you guys make, I felt it and I know it now, and I will take that with me and I will share that with people so they do understand. So we do get the information before making assumptions. I think that's really important, and I just can take a lot with me from this experience. And thank you guys for making that great, and many hard nights, many hard decisions to make. But I think it comes with a lot of appreciation for what you guys do, what all of our staff do, and I have a better understanding of that now. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
My kids will be happy to have me back on Monday night.
Are there any other reports by the board members? District program and highlights, anything else?
I'm good. Abstain.
Consideration of bills and pre-approved bills.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Motion and a second, consideration of bills and pre-approved bills. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much for being here this evening. Officially adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
There's not sound.